Got it. Oh, recording in progress. Okay, let us begin. Good to everybody. Those who are hearing the recording, as well as our live friends. I mean, the ones hearing the recording are, Baruch Hashem, also live friends, but okay. So now, this week is Parshat Vayetze, and let us begin, as we usually do, with the Baal Shem Tov in Vayetze. So, Vayetze Yaakov meVe'er Sheva v'yelech Harana, Isa b'Midrash. It says in the Midrash, hope everybody's still there. Looks like everybody's still there. I'm sorry, my phone, there you are. V'yetze Yaakov meVe'er Sheva v'yetze Harana, Ita b'Midrash. Da'ama ma ana movid savre min braye chas v'chalila, leitana movid savre min braye ele azre me'im Hashem, Ezri me'im Hashem, oise shemayim va'aretz. I'm not familiar, unfortunately, with that midrash, but I will carry on reading this. Maybe we'll understand from the rest of it. Shemati Memori. This is from Toldot Yaakov Yosef, the main recorder of the Baal Shem Tov's Torahs. I heard from the Baal Shem Tov, Kisherotzim lepara ha'onish memi shehu ra'ui la'onish, when heaven is going to come and punish someone who is suitable for punishment, Azai notlim mimenu madrigat bitachon. Oh, really? So what is taken away from him is his level of personal security, of self-confidence. Al kein ra'ui litpalel lefanav yitporach shitchazek bebitachon bo. And therefore, at a time like that, when one has is ready for punishment and then doesn't have any self-confidence, at a time like that, then one should pray to Hashem that Hashem should give the person self-confidence. Okay, let us carry on. So you remember in the Chumash, he took from the rocks of the place and he made them a pillow for himself. Shemati Memovi. This is from the same person, the Yaakov Yosef. I heard from the Baal Shem Tov, Kisheba neshama me'atzilut el olam ha'asiyah. When the soul, the upper soul, the neshama, comes from the world of Atzilut, which is, the highest of the four worlds that are accessible to us. And the person sees how in this world, the klipa, the nasty influences are stronger. Kavod hamelech rav v'shalit beinayim. Az hu mo'orer et atzmo. And he sees how in this world the importance, if you like, the relationship to Hashem has become less. Then a person wakes up. It's like, oh my, this is not like the world where I was, the world of Atzilut. L'tein yoter shevach l'chvod hamelech malko shel olam, to give more praise to the King of the world. She'ein hu ke'echad hem, who's not one of them. V'zeu shamar v'yikach me'avnei hamakom v'yiseim berashotav. Oh yeah? And I mean, I'd like to hear this explanation. And that's what it means when it says he took from the rocks of the place and put them under his head. Rotzeh lomar, it means to say that shelakach musar me'anshe makom sheyesh lehem lev even, he took morality, musar, from the people of the place, meaning this world, that they have a heart of stone, v'nikra'u etzlo avnei makom, and that's called the stones of the place. V'yasein merashotav, and he put it under his head. Shesham sam davar zeh berosh machshavato, he put this idea, the fact that the people of this world have hearts of stone, he put it into his head, machshavato lavinze, to understand, like, I guess, how can you have a heart of stone? But yatein yoter shevach v'hodaya lishmo yitborach al she'ena ke'echad mehem, and he gave more praise and thanks to Hashem for the fact that he's not like the people of this world. All right, I have to summarize this and in that way understand it better. So what we're puzzling about is the deeper meaning of the fact that Yaakov took from the stones, the rocks of the place, and put them under his head. And what he says, the Baal Shem Tov, is you have to understand this in a deeper way. And he understood, Yaakov, that he was coming out of a place that's very close to Hashem, and where he was in Eretz Yisrael, in Beersheba, I guess, and when he came into this world, the klippa, the nasty influences, they got stronger, and the honor of Hashem got weaker. So he gave more praise to Hashem, and the praise was that he's not like the people of this world. He saw clearly the difference between the population of this world and, so to speak, the atmosphere of the place where he came from, Atzilut, and he thanked God that he's not like this world. And now he's going to explain it in the pasuk that he took from the rocks of the place and put it under his head, that he took musar from the people of the place who had a heart of stone. So he took from the fact that when he came into this world, he looked at the people and saw they had a heart of stone. And that's what it means by the rocks of the place. He took from the heart of the people, took a lesson from the fact that they have the heart of rocks, and he put it under his head, and he made his understand this, that look, these people have such hard hearts, and I don't, because I came from Atzilut, and thank you Hashem for not making me one of them. Okay, so now let us say it in the pasuk. So he took from the stones of the place and put it under his head. He took a lesson from the fact that the people in the world had hearts of stone, and he put it under his head, meaning he put it in his head and said, wow, thank God that I'm not like them with this heart of rock, with this heart of stone, and rather I have a heart that's open to holiness and to Hashem. And he thanked God and everything like that because of that. Okay. Interesting interpretation. V'hinei sulam utzavar tzavarosh magia shemaima v'hinei malachei Elohim olim v'yordim bo. And don't you know that there was a ladder standing on the earth, and its head was going up to heaven? And don't you know that the angels of God were going up and down on that ladder? Shamati Omrim b'shem Harav HaKadosh, the Baal Shem Tov, who is saying this. This is just one second. The Turei Zahav. He said, I heard from the Baal Shem Tov, ki sulam begematria mamon. Ladder in gematria is mammon, like money or property. The zeu omro v'hine sulam, and that's what it means when it says that, don't you know the ladder, shehu mammon, which is the property or the money, mutzav arza, which is sitting on the ground, shehu davar gashmi, va'artzi, something that's physical and, having to do with the earth. Rak sherasho hasheni magia shemayim shehu schar nitzchi. But its head, the head of that money, is in heaven, which is eternal reward. Before I even go further, I'll take a stab at it. That the property, the money one uses in this world, can be used for such good effect, giving tzedakah and maybe building institutions that help the unhealthy, help the sick, and so on. That it can bring a person schar nitzchi. So the ladder standing on the earth goes up to heaven. The ladder represents the money, and it goes up to heaven that you can take that money and build eternal reward with it. Rak shemalachei Elohim heima bnei adam olim v'yordim bo. The angels that it says in the pasuk that are going up and down on the ladder, they are people who are going up and down on it. Rotzeloma sheish mehem olim. There's some that are going up. Sheish lahem aliyot gdolot al yedei mamon. They have great ascensions. They go up, and I guess great improvements and brachas and everything through their money. Ulehefach chas v'chalila yesh sheyesh lahem yerida gdola leimkei hashaol al yedei mamono. There are those who have great descents. They go down to the depths of hell because of their money. Ke'inyan, like it says in Kohelet, Osher Shamur Lebalav Lerato. Wealth is saved up or whatever for its masters for their bad. Ad kan shemati mepeh kadosh. All right, well, I'll say it over as I understand it. So there's this ladder that Yaakov saw, and the ladder was, its feet were on the ground, and the head was in heaven, and angels were going up and down on it. And the ladder represents Mammon, and the angels going up are the ones who, with their Mammon, they rise higher and higher. I guess they do mitzvahs and help others and help people get healthy with it and everything like that. But then the angels represent people, but the angels, so to speak, coming down are the ones who take their money and they use it for bad purposes. They buy tobacco and smoke, and it's not good for their health, or whatever other bad purposes one can use money for. So that's what, in the Baal Shem Tov's world, that's what that ladder represents. Represents Mammon. Okay, if I might, with our holy friends who are with us today, if I might make a personal comment. Somehow the metaphor, I think, says a lot more than the nimshal, than that it's money and some use it for good and some use it for bad. The metaphor is so rich, and if you're gonna, they say the Baal Shem Tov said it, but I have to suspect that, I'll say like this, that was one of many metaphors that he said, because this metaphor I find kind of limits, the ladder, the mashal of the ladder. It's okay. It's a good metaphor, but it's okay. But the ladder itself seems so much richer than that. Anyway, and I'm sure the Baal Shem Tov said many, many other things about the ladder. Daled, let us carry on. Amar Baal Shem Tov, Shemash Amru Chachamim, in Pirkei Avot, Umetzuda Prusa Al Kol HaChaim. There's a net, in all of life. You have to make sure you don't get caught in that net. This is Pirkei Avot. Prusa hu meloshen pras. Prusa is the same letters as pras, as a prize. Kamo, like it says in Pirkei Avot, al manat lekabel pras. So some people do their mitzvahs and everything in order to get a prize. And some people do it just because it's wonderful to be part of the world of mitzvahs and doing good for Hashem and for the world, with no thought of getting any kind of a reward for it. Uperush pras melashon parnasa, and pras itself comes from parnasa. V'zehu mitzuda shel parnasa. That's the trap of parnasa. Hu al kol chai, and that's on everyone living. Shemivakesh parnasato v'nitrad ma'od ve'ein libo panui lavodat Hashem. Oh, so I'll just read the words and then I'll tell you how I understand it. So parnasah is the trap that everyone's looking for parnasah, and they get so caught up in looking for parnasah that their heart is not free to serve Hashem. So anyone who does mitzvahs al manat lekabel pras, it's not that far off from the original pshat. If they're doing mitzvahs in order to get a prize, their mind is on the prize, and the prize he darshans ultimately is for parnasah. If they're doing mitzvahs thinking they're going to get parnasah, then that is a big trap. Because if their mind is really on parnasah and not in doing good for the sake of doing good, for the sake of Hashem, then they'll get so caught up in making the parnasah that their heart will not be free and clear to serve Hashem. Okay, interesting. Just 1 second, I'll think out loud. So pras, we started out saying that a trap is prusa. A trap is spread out for people. Prusa is pras, like don't do mitzvahs to keep a pras. And pras has the same letters as parnasah. And if you're doing mitzvahs to get parnasah, then you won't be able to serve Hashem properly because your mind will be on the parnasah. Dihine, Malachei Elohim olim v'yordim, and angels of God were going up and down on that ladder. Baal Shem Tov, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, the Baal Shem Tov himshich lezeh ha'olam malachim. The Baal Shem Tov brought down into this world angels. Vamar, and he said, Istakilu lo istakel pichon. Ki mestama kishabarama boreyet borach shmo sheyu b'shamayim enenu tzarich lerotam. Like he seems to be saying, don't look at these angels, because probably when Hashem created these angels in heaven, he didn't create them in order that they should be seen. Rak lisholotam mahu avodat shelahem. Ha'avdut shelahem. Rather, he created the angels in order to ask them, what are you doing? What is your job in this world? If shar yeh yecholet lekabel mehem gamhu derech avdut zeh. A person can ask the angels, what are you doing in this world? What is your important work? And through the answer that one gets from these angels, one can decide what oneself should do in the world. Lavod gam kein kach et haborei yitborach shmo. That one should also serve Hashem in the way that the angels serve Hashem. So I take it, first of all, it's a little weird because he says one should not look at them, right? Because probably when Hashem made them, he made them in heaven, and you don't have to look at them. But so what are they for? To ask them. How do you know when to ask them if you don't see where they are? But anyway, it's all mushal, right? It's all metaphor. But so the metaphor is to think about what are the angels' missions in this world. And obviously angels are in this world to do good, to do constructive and loving acts in the world. And by having in mind, what does an angel think of doing in this world? One can say to oneself, so what should I do in the world? I should do like those angels. I should do constructive, loving things in this world to make the world a better place. Okay. So let's go into Rav Kook at this point. Let me just make a... Okay, today's the 27th of November. And let's go into Rav Kook. So we are now into Shmona Kvatzim, and we are in Kovitz Aleph of the Shmona Kvatzim. Here we are. Oh, are we? Yes. No. I usually flip over the page, and perhaps did I forget last time? Sorry to everyone. Try to do something constructive while I see where I should have flipped over the page. Oh, hello. I think I found it. No, I did not. Or maybe we should sing together. It's always nice to sing. Yeah, 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 yeah. Rampa di da di da di. Here we are. Well, I didn't flip the page, but I did. Wait, friends. Perhaps in the future I should check this out before. Here we are. Yes. I did flip the page. I just forgot that we were in Kovitz Gimel. All right. So, all right. There's a piece that I said we would do again. Let's do it again. And I'm also, one of my former students told me he has he doesn't learn with us, told me he has a Peirush on I think he said on Shmona Kvatzim, but I say here to do again, and that was Shiur Yud Tet, if you're following along, in Kovitz Gimel. So let's do it again and get as far as we can get, and see if there are Peirushim. I think he said in the name, I don't want to say the name in case I get it wrong, he had a Peirush, which would certainly help. This one we seem to have trouble with yesterday. Hadam shenishmato meira bekirbo. A person whose soul, his upper soul, shines within him. Muchrachu lehitboded harbe. So he has to go into isolation a lot. החברה התדירית של אנשים אחרים המגושמים על פי רוב נגדו גם ברוחניותם. מעממת את אורה הבהיר של נשמתו העליונה, ומתוך כך פעולתו החשובה מתמעטת. So the person who has the shiny soul within has to isolate himself, because if he's involved in the world, then the regular physical type of people, they tend to put out the light in his soul, and consequently, his acts in the world also become less. So far, so good. ובמקום ההטבה שהיה יכול להיטיב לחברה על ידי התבודדותו והרחקתו ממנה ברוב הזמנים, and in place of the good that he would normally be able to do for the society because of the fact that he is isolated and he can take kind of the pure light and bring it into the world, when he gets involved in the world, that light gets dimmer. שגם אז יש שיחס רוחני לא יפסוק, in order to do it, in order that the spirituality should not stop, ונגד פניו יהיה כל הדור כולו, and he should do it in such a way that all of the generation is in front of his face, like that the light should not go out, that remember, we're talking about a person who's nishmato meira b'kirbo. His soul is shiny within him. So, but when he gets involved with people, it tends to put out the shine. So he should try to do good in the world in a way that the shine is not taken away. And how does he do that? Litpalel ba'adam, he should daven for them. Litzayer et eluyam, tell them how they can go higher and higher. Et otzar atov shebehem, the goodness that's within them, the treasury of goodness within them. Yegrom la nefila al yedei nefilato. But but when he gets involved with these people, it causes a nefila for him. Mipnei hafala shehi mafila et ruchaniyato b'kirbatam hamatredet, through the fact that there's a darkness going into his soul because of their closeness, which bothers him. Oh yes, and this is the piece that I think Neil asked me this morning what it meant. I'll read it again. B'tzarich talmid chacham she'aseh atzmo ka'anak zeh l'tzavar, and a talmid chacham should make himself a giant up to the neck, she'nireh ve'eino nireh, which I understood. I'd like to see if there is a parish how he understands it, which I understood like this: that he should make himself a giant up to the neck. When he's involved in the world, let that involvement in the world not affect the giant status that he has up to the neck. Let it be with his physical body and everything like that. And therefore, he'll be able to hold on to that enlightened soul within him and be able to bring that into the world and not be brought down, not be affected by the everyday perceptions and everyday actions of the people who he's involved with in this world. So in other words, this is like the balance they're always talking about. Don't let this physical world affect your mind, your upper neshama, even though by doing that, you're doing what we told you not to do at other times, like to make a division between the spiritual and the physical. But do make that division in order to keep your spiritual pure and everything like that, and be able to use, but don't cut yourself off from the physical. Just be able to make it that when you use your spiritual in this world, then you have control of that spiritual, and it's not affected by the physical. That's a very subtle kind of avodah. Use your spiritual and don't let it be affected by the darkness and the the negativity of the world. Okay, let's go further. Shiur Chaf 320. Yesh siguf sichli shadam tzarich lefamim l'shtamesh bo. There's a certain mental siguf, like holding oneself back, keeping the mentality, as we said, pure mentality, and holding oneself back from this world. that a person sometimes has to use. What is that? L'shachrer et musagav mi'eshibud she'aseichel enoshi she'istaklut hi bo yitra ala chokhma mishabed otam tavir. He has to free himself from those perceptions that become again a part of the human seichel, and his general way of looking at the world is higher than chokhmah, and he becomes limited by his contact with this world. I want to read that again. יש סיגוף שכלי שאדם צריך לפעמים להשתמש בו, לשחרר את מושגיו מהשיבוד שהשכל האנושי שהסתכלות היא בו יתרה על החוכמה, משבד אותם תדיר. Okay. So in other words, try to keep your pure perceptions pure, while at the same time being involved in the world, kind of the same message as the previous piece. וזהו המקור של ההחשכה שכל עיון מתחשך מצלליו העצמיים. And that's the source, like getting involved in this world, of the darkness that looking into this world, the dark clouds, they darken the person's mind, the person's consciousness. When a person wants to overrule, if you like, this darkness, but when a person wants to overcome the darkness of this world, then a wave of spiritual suffering comes upon him. V'kanhu makom hagvura elyona. And what does he have to do at a time like that? He has to reconnect to elevated strength. She'adam mitkaber al yitzro al ruchani. One has to overrule his spiritual yetzer. V'shover et kol mechitzot habarzel shebeino uvein aviv. And at that point, break all the obstructions that are between him and between his Father in heaven. Truth and elevated peace in the upper places.
Yeah, Rebbe, how do you understand overcoming your spiritual yetzer hara? I understand.
It's a hard piece to understand in general. Just a minute. I want to read it without reading the Hebrew. A person has to sometimes use a siguf sichli, meaning like a limited part of his seichel. You has to use it in the world to free his perceptions from human seichel. So he has to take his, higher seichel and try to break himself away from human perceptions, because his real way of looking at things is higher than chokhmah, and rules over the chokhmah. Okay, but when he's involved in the physical world, he says, things get darker, and the person has to rule over this darkness. We're getting to it, Drew. And then physical, spiritual suffering comes on the person. Now, v'kanhu makom hagvura elyona. Here you need elevated strength. Sh'adam mitkaber al yitzro al ruchani. All right, I'm trying to understand like this, but as usual, please argue with me. So he says that there are times when one has spiritual suffering because of things that he's doing in order to do avodah properly in the world. And that spiritual suffering is when he's trying to limit his spirituality in order that it should not be affected so much by the negative things of this world. So and that causes suffering, he says, when you limit your spirituality. And then he says, and I hope I can say some pshat here. He says, and a person should be mitgaber on a spiritual yetzer. Please help me along here. I think what he means is this: when a person is trying to control his spirituality, then his yetzer is coming and saying, yeah, I don't want the pain. I don't want the suffering. Please control the spirituality, like we said in the previous line, right? Matchil gal shel yisurim ruchaniyim. A waves of a spiritual suffering comes on him. And what he has to do is, and what's the yetzer ruchani? The yetzer ruchani is when he holds back his spirituality so it doesn't get affected by the physicality. So what he has to do is he has to not hold, I'm guessing, by the way. I mean, I'm saying pshat, it's not called guessing, right? He has to hold back that yetzer ruchani, which says to him, limit your spirituality, because you're just going to be suffering. If you let your spirituality run loose, it's going to be overwhelmed by the physical negativity of this world. So, so hold it back. But now he says, Adam, Adam mitkaber al yitzro ruchani. A person has to be stronger than his spiritual yetzer. He has to say, no, I'm going to shine spiritually. And by shining spiritually, I'm going to overwhelm that physical world that that caused the darkness and caused the suffering. Does that work? I'm going to be mitgaber al yitzro haruchani, the yetzer, the spiritual nature that says, I don't want pain. I'm going to hold back the spirituality. No, I'm going to put so much spirituality into there that it's going to totally overwhelm that pain. Vishover et kol, and he has to break all the obstructions that are between him and his maker and his Father in heaven. Okay. What do you say, Drew? Not bad.
Yeah, I can sort of understand it. I mean, what are we if we're afraid of getting of spiritual pain and therefore we don't want to overdo it? I mean, is that?
Yeah, we have the spirituality. Spirituality,
right.
I'm just saying that, you know, the road I just took now. Spirituality is very sensitive, as we know.
Right.
And we're afraid that we're going to suffer because our spirituality comes in contact with the gross things of this world.
In other words, I'm trying to do it. Hold on. If you're saying like I'm trying to do a mitzvah and all of a sudden it backfires on me and something really bad happens to me, that kind of thing. I mean,
no, what he said was, just a minute, that he doesn't. There, I'm going to go back a few lines. I'm going to go back more than that. We may take a long time on this today. A person holds back sometimes their seichel and that's something he has to use in the world sometimes to free his perceptions from the human seichel. And one's perceptions are greater than one's chokhmah. Mishabed otam tadir. And one's perceptions should be able to minimize the chokhmah constantly, so that the perceptions can take the upper, the more spiritual perceptions can take the upper road, can be in the place of strength, the place of control. And he says that, however, is the source of darkness. That brings darkness to a person. And when a person wants to get past this, so why does it bring darkness to a person? Because a person is limiting his spirituality Where is he limiting? Sorry, I said we may take a long time here. He has to limit his seichel. לשחרר את מושגיו מהשיבוד שהשכל האנושי שהסתכלות היא בו יתרה על החוכמה. One has to free oneself from that seichel, because the seichel, because the perception is greater than the wisdom.
Greater than the wisdom? I thought that our perceptions can't match the wisdom. The chokhmah.
Let's read it word for word.
You might drive yourself crazy doing that.
Let's read it word for word. There's a siguf, like, like when you don't eat. So, but it's a mental siguf that a person has to use sometimes. He has to limit his mental siguf. לשחרר את מושגיו מהשיבוד שהשכל האנושי שהסתכלות היא בו יתרה לחוכמה, to free his perceptions from the fact that his perceptions are sometimes greater, no, not sometimes, that his perceptions are greater than his chokhmah, because his perceptions fly. Chokhmah goes step by step. So sometimes a person has to free himself from those perceptions which are greater than chokhmah, mishabedotam tadir, and to limit one's chokhmah always. Just a minute. לשחרר את מושגיו מהשיבוד שהשכל האנושי שהסתכלות היא בו יתרה על החוכמה משעבד אותם תדיר. Yeah, the seichel is always ruling over the chokhmah, he seems to say. יש סיגוף שכלי שאדם צריך לפעמים להשתמש בו. לשחרר את מושגיו מהשיבוד שהשכל האנושי שההסתכלות היא בו יתרה לחוכמה משעבד אותם תביר. To free himself.
Right, okay, I want to take a step, because when he says yetera on chokhmah, he uses the word yetera, right?
Yes.
It's extra, it's not better. He's driving himself crazy because you can't ever perceive of absolute chokhmah, of absolute wisdom, but you can drive yourself crazy trying to figure out what it is. I can't, when he says yetera, right? It's like overthinking it, so you just become stalemated, basically, right? You're trying to achieve this high level of chokhmah. You're never going to get there. So sometimes maybe you just limit yourself to live in this world, because that's the word yetera, right? That's the main phrase there.
Yeah. So what is
so it's saying? Not better. It can't be that our intellect's better than pure
okay,
chokhmah.
all right, let's try
extra.
it.
It's extra. Like it's extra. That's what it is. Like the
so
motorot,
a certain kind of limitation, a certain siguf of the mind that you sometimes have to use in order to free your mind, your perceptions from the regular human seichel, שהסתכלות היא בו יתרה על החוכמה, where perception overrules chokhmah. Not that it's better.
It's extra. It doesn't overrule it.
Perception
becomes greater than the chokhmah itself.
Another world on top of
it's impossible. But it's impossible. Your perception can never be greater than chokhmah, but you get so into it that's your perception. That, here I'm making all these great, I don't know, hasagot, and I'm thinking about chokhmah, and you're not in the world anymore. It's hard for me to understand it any other way.
Okay. שההסתכלות היא ביתרה על החוכמה, the
Just to look
משעבד
at it
אותם
becomes
כדי.
greater than the chokhmah itself. All you're looking at the chokhmah, right? All your hitaskut with it is greater than the chokhmah itself.
Yeah. So why do you want to limit that?
Because you're wasting your time. There is no hasagah chokhmah, but you get caught up in it and you start neglecting other things. I think I can't understand his message any other way.
And what does he mean, mishabed otam tadir?
Of what are you talking about? The thoughts about chokhmah?
Yeah, I think so.
That maybe the only thing I can think about, I mean, shibud's a tough word, is you still own them. In other words, you can, as you always say, put it on soft focus, low flame. You always use that terminology.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe that. Because there's still, I mean, you should, because in some ways we should look for chokhmah. It's true, we should seek the higher, but at some point it just becomes counterproductive, I guess.
All right. So I'm going to say it in like what seems to me, I hope, well, it's not grade 1, but grade 1. Sometimes you have to limit your seichel. Right. And in limiting, and by limiting your seichel, you're freeing your perceptions from normal everyday seichel.
Right.
And normal everyday seichel is the seichel where perception is greater than chokhmah, and it's always meshubad. The chokhmah is always meshubad to seichel. But so there's a time when you have to take that seichel and you have to limit it, and just kind of let your chokhmah ride. Don't let your perceptions ride. Don't let your perceptions get the upper hand. Let your chokhmah get the upper hand. That's how
I'm understanding.
Okay, and I want to understand because it makes sense what you're saying. I'm going to keep reading. And that's the darkness of looking into things where the clouds are darkening things. So in other words, what you're saying is, I want the chokhmah to ride, and not the chokhmah to take the upper hand, and not the seichel, and that's the source of darkness. Because we know that the seichel, or the histaklut, the perception, kind of sees things better. But there are times when you should let your chokhmah ride. He says, let your chokhmah be the main influencer.
I think he means the upper Chaim. I think he means the upper chokhmah. It's hard for me to believe it's your chokhmah because you're same as your seichel. But your seichel, it's difficult. I have to believe he's talking about the upper chokhmah. Otherwise, it's kashem.
Then why would he say shehistaklut hi bo yitera al chokhmah? That's when you're
looking at it too much. I'm looking at yitera as meaning too much.
Your histaklut is too much for the upper chokhmah.
No, you're looking for the upper chokhmah so much you're neglecting your seichel in this world.
You're neglecting your what you're supposed to be doing in this world.
Yes.
Okay, and that's the source of the darkness that comes to a person sometimes, where he's neglecting. That process itself is the source of the darkness, where you're neglecting what you're supposed to be doing in this world. Okay, so far so good. And when you want to get past this darkness and you want to know, what am I supposed to be doing in this world? Meaning I have to let the chokhmah ride, let the chokhmah take the upper place in the world. Matchil gal, and when he does that, so he says, now I'm suffering. But what did I do? I let the chokhmah get the upper place, but I like when my perception gets the upper place, because chokhmah necessarily means I have to understand things step by step, inch by inch. But when I'm letting my perception get the upper place, then I'm just looking at things and they're intuitively coming into place.
Well, I think a person's in love with their perceptions, aren't they? I mean, I ignore the upper.
I think so. I think
because
so.
I ignore the upper chokhmah because it's too much for me. I love my perceptions; they're much better. I'm much more comfortable with what I know, right? And my own perception, I think, is the truth rather than some.
So
chokhmah,
what is
beyond my
causing
reach?
what is causing this darkness? The fact that you are pushing down the chokhmah?
No, you can't achieve it. You can't attain it. No matter how hard you try, there's no attaining it. You can never.
Or maybe it's that you're pushing down the seichel, you're pushing down the perception.
It could be the same exact thing. Because when you're looking for this upper chokhmah that you can never get to, you're pushing down the seichel base.
Yeah. And when you want to rule over this darkness that comes because you're not able to let your perceptions ride, the kanhu makom hagvura elyona. Now you have to get strong. She'adam mitkaber al yitzro haruchani. Okay, a person has to be stronger than his spiritual yetzer. What's the spiritual yetzer? The spiritual yetzer is wanting to keep that chokhmah down while your perceptions are getting the upper place. Maybe that's it.
Yes.
I want the perceptions to fly because I like flying. That's my spiritual yetzer.
Right.
So you have to.
But you're disconnecting from the world. There has to be a negative to it, right?
Right. So what do you have to do? You have to be stronger than that spiritual yetzer and break the wall between you and the Father in heaven, and make it that it doesn't that you can allow the chokhmah to have its place, even though it's pushing down that which you like so much, namely your perceptions. But this is what's better for the world, I guess. To let your
it's better for you as well. I mean, it's better all around. I mean,
well, that's what he says. Ha'emet v'hashalom elyon barum mekoram. Wow. All right. Here, I'll put a question mark there, and we'll see if he really has a. I doubt that you could have a perush on the Shmona Kvatzim, but maybe he does, this person. Okay, so let's maybe we'll start tomorrow with this, and we'll go on to Shin Chaf Aleph tomorrow. Let's take a break now. It is now 11, almost 11:39. Let's take a 10-minute break. Get back for Gemara at 11:49. Okay, see you then. Take care. Okay. Six, sorry. Yeah, hi everybody. Let's carry on with Gemara. So, and today's is rather technical in relation to Trumot and Masrot, but it's something we. And to tell you the truth, even though I learned it a while back, it doesn't stay with me so well. But so I'm learning it with you, kind of. Yes, Eva, were you going to say something?
Please let Wendy in.
Please let Wendy in. Just a second. I will try to do that. I will certainly try to do that. Let's see. How do I do it? Here? No. Where's Wendy? Huh. Maybe she gave up?
No, she asked that you let her in.
Okay, just a minute. She asks that I let her in. You know what? I think maybe Neil has to do that today. He's the one who got me in. Let me see. Let me see if I can do something here. Okay. No. Here. No, I'm going to call Neil and tell him to let Wendy in. Oh, hello. Wendy's in. Wendy, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay. Why can't I hear her?
He's connecting to her audio.
Oh, she is. Okay, great.
But
Great.
give her a moment to connect. I don't see her connecting yet. See, she's not connecting yet.
Wonder if I can do something here.
It's on her.
What if I push here? No. Let's see if I can get.
I'm sending her a message.
Okay. Maybe I can. Maybe I'll call Neil.
I sent her a message. Let's see what's happening. I think she's in. She's in. Wendy, you're in?
I am in, yeah, thank you.
I don't know. Mine has gone off for a moment. You'll come back.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
He says he already admitted her. Oh, you heard.
Yes.
You heard what he said.
Wendy's in. Thank you.
Okay, just a minute. Let's get started soon. Here. Sydney, Drew. Oh, Wendy. Yeah. Yeah, I don't Send to Wendy Fielding.
No, I'm
You have
here.
to send something to her?
Don't worry, don't have to send me anything. I'm here. I'm here, Chaim.
All right, Neil says he already admitted her, so maybe it's something in her computer. Oh, wait a minute. Let me try this.
Can you hear me? I'm here.
Oh, Wendy, I kind of hear you. Just a minute. I think I hear you in the background
Chaim,
here.
she's in. Chaim, she's in. But listen, you can send the invitation because maybe that's what's stopping her every
I
time.
think I hear you.
If it says to
yes.
send it to her anyway, the link. I think that's why we're having problems. People should have a link. They should get in automatically. I don't understand what this business is. Okay.
I don't understand either, Drew. I've got the link. Neil sent me the invitation, but I have to ring Sydney every time to ask to be let in.
Did you use the link that Neil sent you, or did you use the regular one that?
I use the link I've only been using the one Neil sent me, but every time I have to ring Sydney to get in.
You know what? I'll check it out again. We tried to fix it this morning. We'll try again tomorrow.
Yeah, I didn't even have a
Sorry about
message. I didn't have a message on the phone. Anyway, hi, Wendy. We're very pleased you're with us today. Hope everything's okay. How are you feeling? Better?
Well, I've still got the corona, but I'm getting
Oh, you
there.
still got the corona. Oh my.
Yeah, I've had it all week. So anyway, hope I'll get better soon.
Yeah, God willing. We should refuah shlema mina shemayim.
Thank you.
Hashem send the refuah shlema to our dear Wendy. Refuah shlema mina shemayim. Okay, so today we are starting Gemara, and as I say, it's going to be rather technical, but it's good. It's more than good, beyond good. It's great. We are on in Masechet Brachot. We're on Mem Zayin Amud Aleph, and we're close to the bottom of the page. We're at the place where it says, if you're in a real Gemara, Vilna, or in a Rav Steinsaltz, it's Daled, Meiser Rishon Shenitla Trumato. So what the Mishnah said, that if you have Meiser Rishon and the Truma was taken from Meiser Rishon, then you can make a bracha on that. You can eat that. All right. I want to do some background, and it's for me also. I mean, as I say, I learned all this years ago, maybe not that many years ago. But here, I'm going to read from the Iyunim at the bottom of the page in Rav Steinsaltz here. Hafreshat Truma Umaiser. Hader Haruya Bafreshat Trumot Umasrot Hizo. The proper way to take Truma and Meiser is the following. So first of all, let me say, as I've said many times, that Truma and Meiser were taken with a bracha and with all the various separations and redemptions in the time of the Beit HaMikdash. What we do now, when we take Truma and Masra, many people never have to do it because they always buy from, the Makolit that gets all their stuff from Tenuva, or they buy from the supermarket that, in addition to getting their fruits and vegetables from Tenuva, has a mashgiach who comes in and takes again, which may actually be a problem that you're wasting food because it was already done in Tenuva, as I said to you, at least the majority. But let's not get into that now. So most of us never have to do our own. But if you do have to do your own, like you get from someone by the side of the road who's selling, then at any rate, so this is talking about what you should understand about Trumas and Maisros. B'derech klal ein mafrishin matanot ela lachar shekvar niktzara hatfua gedusha v'huamda bekeri. Usually, you don't take Trumas and Maisros until the produce has been taken out of the field. It's been harvested from the field, and it's sitting in its bag or in wherever it is that it has to sit. So at first, mafrishim matanot, just no, mafrishim minatfua truma gedola. First, you take from the produce, let's say it's wheat berries, let's say, and you're going to grind them and you're going to make flour. So first you take, I'm using that just as an example, but it's a rather easy example. Take from the produce truma gedola, hanetenet lekohen, and that's supposed to be given to the kohen. So this is the way it was in the old days. ששיעורה מדברי חכמים הוא בממוצע 1/50 מן הדגה. So that's 1/50 of the produce. אחר כך מפרישים מן הקרי 1/10. Then when it's sitting in the bag, that it sits in, take 1/10, meiser, or bediuk meiser rishon, it's called meiser rishon, 1/10 of that is given to the Levi. אכן הלוי עצמו צריך להפריש מחלקו מייסר, תרומת מייסר, מייסר מן המייסר, and the Levi is supposed to give 1/10 of what he's got. And he gives that to the Kohen, v'nitan lekohen v'dino kedin truma, and that has the that's called truma. Lachar mikein mafrishim od meiser nosaf meiser sheni. Then you take another meiser, that's called meiser sheni, like another 10th. Shemalim oto liYerushalayim, and this you take up to Yerushalayim. So I think there are people these days who might do it, and then you have to be very careful. You have to do it with purity and go to the mikveh and who knows what else. And but generally, this is not taken to Yerushalayim. V'sham ochlim oto o et trumato avalim. So the owner eats it in Yerushalayim. B'shana shlishit v'shishit l'machzor v'shmita, in the third and the 6th year of the Shemitah cycle. And remember, we just finished the Shemitah cycle last Rosh Hashanah a few months ago. Mafreshim b'makom meiser sheni meiser oni. So instead of doing meiser sheni, you do meiser oni, that which you give to the poor, hanitan la'aniyei Yisrael, which is given to the poor people of Israel. Okay, that's begadol. So you got truma, you got meiser, you got trumat meiser that the Levi gives. You got all of those kinds of separations, and let's try to see it in context, and that might make it a little bit clearer. So back into the Gemara, Meiser Rishon shenitla trumato. So you got Meiser Rishon, and the truma has been taken out of Meiser Rishon. Meiser Rishon, remember, is the very first thing you take before you take the truma. So we say, and on that you can make a bracha. If the truma has been taken from the Meiser Rishon, you can make a bracha. That's fit to be eaten. The Gemara says the obvious question: if it's fit to be eaten, why are we talking about it? Pshita. So it's obvious. What do you have to talk about it for? Lo tzricha elishekdimu b'shibolim. So he said, no. It's not so obvious, because we're talking about a case where the Levi went and took it while it was not yet cut off from the ground. And the Levi who gets Trumat Meiser took Trumat Meiser, but he didn't yet take Truma Gedola, which I might have thought it's logical to think, well, if you took your Meiser Rishon before you take if you took your Trumat Meiser before you take Truma Gedola, that shouldn't count. But apparently it does. Let's see what he's going to say. Uke de Rabbi Abahu, and that's like Rabbi Abahu. Edama Rabbi Abahu Amar Reish Lakish, because Rabbi Abahu said in the name of Reish Lakish, one of his rabbis, Meiser Rishon shekdimu b'shibolim patur mitruma gedola. If you went out in the field and you took Meiser Rishon and you got it out in the field, then you don't have to take Truma Gedola anymore. And he quotes a pasuk, Shenemar v'haremotem mimenu Trumat Hashem Meiser mina Meiser. And you will take from that Trumat Hashem Meiser mina Meiser. Meiser mina Meiser amarti lach. I told you that you take Meiser mina Meiser, the law Truma Gedola, Trumat Meiser mina Meiser. But you don't take Truma Gedola or Trumat Meiser from the Meiser. So according to him, once you take your Truma, then it works, because you take it out in the fields, you're already pater from the other types of Truma. Amar le Rav Papa Labaya, it's very technical, right? Rav Papa said to Abaya, nami. Well, if what you're saying is true, if you get it out of the field, then you don't have to take truma. You can take you can just 1 second. You can take your Meiser Rishon, and you don't have to take Truma Gedola. So if that's when you take it out of the field, then if you take it out of the container that it's in, well, all the more so. You shouldn't have to take your Truma Gedola. Amar le, he answered him, Abaya answered Rav Papa, and he said, Alecha Amar Kra. There's another pasuk that says, Mikol Maisrotechem Tarimu. From all of your Meisers, you take Meiser. Umaraita, Hai Idgan, Hai Lo Idgan. No. One is that doesn't apply. One is when it becomes dagan, like it becomes already, in a bag of seeds. But when it's still out in the field, then you don't have to take your truma. So extremely technical. If the Holy Oilam wants to get involved in this in more detail, we could do it. But the thing, as far as our Mishnah goes, what he's saying is that if you take, if you have Meiser Rishon, where the Truma was taken from it, then you can make a bracha. And we say, of course you can make a bracha, you did everything right. And the answer is no, we're not talking about exactly what it sounds like. We're talking about where a person went in the field and took the Trumat Meiser, but he didn't take the Truma Gedola. And even there, you can make a bracha on the food, and you don't have to say, oh, everything is really not good here. It's not true. You have psukim that come and say it's okay. All right, let's go on. Meiser Sheni v'hektish niftu. If you have Meiser Sheni is, after the Meiser Rishon, and you have hektish, you have something that's kodesh, but you already were poda it. The problem is, we're going to say it, when you're poda hektish, when you redeem hektish, something holy of the produce, you have to add a fifth to the value of the produce. And that's exactly what we're going to get into here. Pshita, of course, you can make a bracha. Of course, you can, take it easy with that. It's obvious. So the Gemara answers no. And this is what we're talking about here. You did, when you redeemed it, you gave the Karen, you gave the value of the produce, but you didn't add that penalty of a fifth on top of it. And V'hakamash Malan. And what are we teaching here? What is the Gemara teaching, or the Mishnah teaching? De'ein chomish ma'akev. You're right. There is a penalty of giving another fifth, another 20% on top of it. But since that is in the category of penalty, if you don't give it, then nonetheless, it's okay. It's not ma'akev. It doesn't stop you from being able to make a bracha on it and everything like that. We could really stay on that for about 2 weeks, all of that. But since if someone asks me, I will, with pleasure. But if no one asks me, we'll just go on.
Is any of that relevant to now?
To us, no. It's very technical. In the old days when everything was, people did take stuff up to Yerushalayim and, and everything like that. These days, for most of us, unless you want to be stricter than the law asks, if you buy your fruit and your vegetables either in the makolet or in the supermarket, you don't have to think about it because they do it. Now, sometimes, I don't know if it still happens at, I'm wondering, where do you live, Wendy? I guess you don't go to Sasson.
Yeah, but I've got stuff growing on my. I've got
What?
stuff growing on my mirpesset. I've got stuff growing on my mirpesset, but they're in pots. But I still do truma and masa when I
that's
take
fine.
like last week.
Keep doing what you've been doing. That's plenty. You don't have to go beyond that. I was going to say that it used to be. I don't spend that much time in the makolet these days, but when we first went into the neighborhood, I saw that Sasson would sometimes sell, although the truth is it doesn't matter then. No. There would be an Arab lady who would come and, take stuff that she grew, but Arab produce is not subject to Trumot and Masra. So it wouldn't be a problem. I'm wrong. And as for the stuff on the Merpeset, I don't think any of this applies to that. You take your, as it says on that sheet of paper that you got, that you take your Trumot and Masrat, and let me try to get, Sydney says that he can't get in. Let me try to get Sydney in now.
What sheet of paper?
Oh, I thought you had something from the back of the sitter or something that you use, the formula.
Oh, just the bracha and what you told me to say.
Yeah, okay. That's fine. That's plenty. All right, let me try to get Sydney in. Just a minute. All right. Let's see. How can I do that? Let's see. I'll try calling Neil again. Hope he answers. Okay, where am I? Okay, Sydney, I've been told that you're in.
Thank you.
Neil told me that you're in. Just a minute. Yeah, let me hear you. No, Sydney, I hear you're in. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I wish there was an easier way of doing this, but anyway, for the most part, we do okay. All right, let's go further in the Gemara. So we are the next piece. Hashama shachal pachot mikazayit. So remember what we said, that if the servant, or whatever you want to call him, the waiter, he eats a little bit with you, but it's less than a kazayit, then then we said, let me find it. And read it. Here we are. Hashema shachal pachot mekazayit va'anochri ein mezamnim alav. You cannot make a zimun if he ate less than a kazayit, the waiter. Like he took part in your meal, but he didn't eat a kazayit of food. Pshita, says the Gemara, the regular. Well, of course not. Aidi the Tana Reisha Kazayit, Tana Seifa Pachot Mikazayit. It's just that since the Reisha said Kazayit, the Seifa said less than a Kazayit, but it's like obvious. That's all. You don't see. We don't have to get into it more. The Nachri Ein Mezamnin Alav, and a non-Jew, you cannot make a zimun with a non-Jew. If you have a non-Jew sitting with you, two of you ate bread, let's make it easy. Both of you ate bread, and then you have a friend who's not Jewish sitting with you. You can't include him in the Rabbatai Nevarech. Pshita, of course you can't, says the Gemara. No, hacha b'maya skimen. What are we talking about here? Beger shemal v'lo taval. We're talking about a convert who was already circumcised, but he didn't go into the mikveh yet. So you might think, well, he's almost kind of Jewish, almost, even though he didn't go to the mikveh, but he did get circumcision for the name of becoming Jewish. So you might think that he can become part of the zimun. The Amar Reb Zera, Amar Reb Yochanan, Lolam eino ger ad sheyamol v'yitbol. You're never really totally Jewish until you you're circumcised and you go to the mikveh. V'kama delo taval nachrihu, and as long as he didn't do the tefillah as a circumcised for the sake of gerus, then he's still not Jewish. I mean, for whatever reason, we find that very logical. Like we find that, the way it is. We don't even have to ask about that. Let's go further. Nashim v'avadim ukatanim ein mazamnan aleim. Women, slaves, and kids, you cannot make a zimun on them. I'm a Rabbi Yossi. Katan mutal varisa mizamnan alav. If you have a kid who's in the cradle, then you can make a zimun on him. You can say Rabbatai Nivaret, Vahatnan, but what do you mean? We learned in a mission, Nashim Bavadim Muktanim Ein Mezamnan Alei, that you can't. So, Rabbi Yossi, where do you come up with the fact that a kid in the cradle you can make a zimun on them? Huda Malk Rabbi Shua ben Levi, he says like Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Damar Rabbi Shua ben Levi, Afal Pi Shamru Katana Mutal Barisa Ein Mezamnan Alav. Snif la'asara. True that you can't make a zimun of 3 for a kid in the cradle, but you can make him as a 10th for being able to say Elokeinu when you have 10 people. Yeah, interesting, huh? Surprising. Never saw anyone do it. I'd like to, when you get these surprising kinds of things or things that I just learned, I like to do it physically because then it stays in my mind. But I never saw anyone ever do that. Well, maybe let me look at. Maybe it's not halacha. Mishachrer avdo chad mi'asura. Yeah, well, it doesn't say it at the halacha at the bottom, so maybe it's not la halacha. Okay, anyway, let us carry on a little. Vamar B'Shua ben Levi. Tisha ve'eved mitzarfim. No, 9, and you could have a slave. Remember, slaves were kind of partly Jewish. They first they had to go to the mikveh when they became a slave, and secondly, they took on the mitzvahs that are not bound by time, like mezuzah, birkat hamazon. So maybe you would think that they're almost Jewish, and in fact, according to Rav Shua ben Levi, you would include a Jewish slave. Obviously not a non-Jewish slave. Meitve, they asked the kasha, Maisa b'Rabbi Eliezer shenechnas lebeit hakneset v'lo matza asara. Oh yeah, a famous story. There's a story about Rabbi Eliezer. He came into shul and he didn't find there were 10 people from minyan. V'shechrer avdo v'shlimo l'asara, and he freed his slave, made him, and once the slave is freed. Sorry, this is a non-Jewish slave. This is a non-Jewish slave. So I have to go back and see what they were talking about before. And once a slave is freed, he becomes Jewish. Shechrer in lo, shechrer lo. But he's not freed, no. Trei itzrichu, shechrer chad, v'nafik chad. What does that mean? Let me take a look here. Yes. Shechrer echad v'nafik chad. Shnayim utzrichu leminyan zeh. V'shechrer echad v'yatza v'echad shelo shuchrav al yedei tziruf. That's what he's saying. No, the story's not an accurate story. This isn't the story I was thinking of. There were 2 slaves that he had. He freed one, and when he freed him, he became totally Jewish. He didn't free the other, but as I told you, a slave who, a non-Jewish slave who becomes, who goes into a Jewish household, has to go to the mikveh, or he can't stay in the Jewish household, and he has mitzvahs like a woman, but he's not totally Jewish. So the chiddush here is, one was totally Jewish because he freed him totally. The other one was not because he didn't free him totally. Okay. And then we're going to talk about that more tomorrow. And, and we'll get into more. What time is it? Yeah, right. And we'll get into more the other things about Zimun that we said before, but they could use a little more explanation. We'll do that tomorrow, God willing. So have a good day. Tomorrow, same time, same station, and have a wonderful day. If anyone has any comments or anything, please call me or send me an email. Be well.
Thank you, Chaim.
Tomorrow morning, we should try again with Neil, try to get this thing solved. I don't understand why it's such a hassle. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're davening at Neil, so that makes it a little easier.
It's not this shimmer. We'll try.
Well,
okay.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, sure.
If I got you on the phone here.
Sure.
Wait a minute. Are there still people in here? I think there are. No, it's just.
It's you're recording. So don't talk about anything illegal. We're still recording.
Yeah, could you get me a bag of? No, joking.
Yeah, sure.
Someone. It's just you, me, and Neil are here.
Okay.
And I was going to ask Neil what he thought. Someone called me this morning.
Yeah.
And said they found it unpleasant when our dear Bezalel came and asked people in the minyan, tried to hit them up for money. I mean, I'm used to it, so I don't find it unpleasant. But and I guess I can understand how. I guess I'm not sure. Maybe he's just extra sensitive. Like, what do you think? Is that extra?
Neil, do you want to take that? I mean, I have an answer. Neil, do you want to say anything? I mean,
let me say what my solution was.
Yeah, go for it, because I have a definite opinion on it. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was. First I didn't say to him because he made it sound like it's so obvious that someone in the minyan hitting up people in the minyan was he seemed to think it wasn't appropriate. And he did give him money, by the way. But I was thinking, if it really is something that makes people uncomfortable, so we could talk to Bezalel and make him one of the permanent people that, gets from what's it called? Gets from Karen Doris, and tell him not to ask.
He already
people
gets from Karen Doris. He's gotten
does
from
get-
Karen Doris before. He gets from all sorts of places.
Yeah,
And
look,
But you
yeah,
so-
Neil. Yeah, go ahead.
what's your take, Drew? I don't know what to say. He's
Yeah,
like a technical.
my take is like this. First of all, he has mental health issues, which for me personally, I'm very sensitive to it. Second of all, and I've also known him for a very long time, but I think, why is it that we're so much more comfortable, right, taking care of people far away? Shouldn't we take care of the people in our own community? Shouldn't they be first? I mean, kind of weird for me that, we rag on the guys who come in every week, who have nothing to do with us, who drive a car, who come in every week, that we know they're, that this is their job, they're professionals. And a guy who's like with mental health issues in our community is asking for some help. I don't see the problem. I mean, if you're uncomfortable, but so what are you comfortable with? These other guys who come in,
Yeah, that's a good point. That sounds very sensible to me. The only thing with him is he would like, I'm just stating what everybody knows already. He would like to be, on the one hand, to be seen as someone who's stable and productive and contributing.
Exactly. Yeah, fair.
But when it comes to showing up on time and being stable and productive and contributing, he's not so good at it.
No, and unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast, and it's really hard because on one hand, you want to help them out, and you want to get them on the straight and narrow, but as much time and effort as you'll put into it, you'll never get out of it. In other words, right. This is the nature. We got to accept that this is the situation. I mean, I thought you were going to say he wants to be a Rebbe in the shul and he wants to be a chazan.
Yeah.
No,
he does.
He was even
also
in a dream, because I've been trying to employ him. Like I said, come to the minyan.
You've been amazing. You've been mamish amazing.
Yeah. But he appeared in a dream of mine saying, wow, if don't do this to help me, Wow. And I told him that, and he was like, really? It's like, yeah. But wow. I'm still trying to do it, but it's not easy because
it's like herding cats. It's like herding cats, bro. It's same thing. And you're doing a huge mitzvah because it's obviously better to give a person parnasa in a mechubad way than than us, each giving them money. But you should, Chaim, I would just tell that person that you're very sorry, but we need to take care of people in our community. I mean, how is it going to work?
Sounds good to me.
I didn't find. Maybe because, I've known Bezalel for a long time and I've dealt with him also in Stucca issues. And I'm very sensitive to, since I have a cousin who's bipolar, exactly. I'm kind of, or maybe not just that, I'm very sensitive to these issues.
That's good.
So maybe I'll just tell the guy, can I say this? I won't mention names.
Go ahead.
That I talked it over with the committee. Yeah. And they said, listen, we're so used to him and his mental issues that we think we should just let him keep doing what he's doing. And
I would go further than that. And I would say to them, I talked it over with the committee and listen, we have to take care of our own. He's part of our community. And we can't, look askance at Baruch Hashem. So many people in our community have parnasa and they live okay, and that's wonderful. But you can't base a community on that.
You think I can say to this person that he's already getting money from Karen Doris? So
no, I wouldn't mention any of that. I would just say, listen, he's part of our
community. Just keep it simple, like Drew said.
He's got mental health issues, and we firmly believe in helping people in our community, especially those with mental health issues, and we don't turn anyone away. And I'm very sorry if it makes you feel uncomfortable, but that's part of as Mizmor, that's our party line.
Okay, I got you.
All right.
Thank you very much, and thank you for letting me.
And Neil, we should try to solve this issue with Zoom. I totally don't get it. I mean, I use Zoom. I send out. Everyone gets signed up. I send out the invitation. They click on it, and they should just get in. I think the problem is you got to take off the password now. You got to remove it. It might still be there because I had to use the password to get in.
Really?
Yeah.
And what about
wait a minute? Which pass did you use? Jingle Bells or Chaim?
No, I used Chaim. I used Chaim with a capital C. I used CHAIM, and I got in. Well, no, sorry. Then I got into the waiting room, and then Chaim had to let me in.
I don't know. I think we should look around for an alternative because they're asking to renew also. We have to renew it, and it's $200. And I bet there's other systems out there that are